The Epstein stuff is so crazy because when Kash Patel was on here and he was like, there's nothing. And I was like, what are you talking?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to say. My thought was, and people are like, why didn't you push back more? And then he didn't know about the Michael Baden stuff, the autopsy stuff, where it showed that he had 3 broken bones in his neck, which never happens when you hang yourself. My thought was like, I'm just going to put this out there and let the internet do its work because there's nothing I can. The guy's saying there's no tapes, there's no video. That doesn't make any sense. Everyone knows it doesn't make any sense.
Melania, Epstein, Rogan. One sentence on a podcast and suddenly you've got the first lady tied to the most infamous scandal of the decade. The claim that she was introduced to Trump through Epstein's circle, maybe even on his jet. Now, that's explosive. And Trump's reaction, well, let's just say it wasn't the calm, collected response of a man with nothing to hide. We're unpacking the exact moment Rogan lit this fire, how the rumor gained truth status online, and whether there's anything behind the smoke or just smoke machines.
Even when you like leap from somewhere with a rope around your neck and it snaps your neck, you never have 3 broken bones.
He's in a prison cell. He's not launching himself off the first floor balcony. He's down there to interview her.
But I'm saying she's sex trafficked to
she
who?
She was a co-conspirator of Epstein's, right?
But don't you have to have a person who you're sex trafficking? Like, do you think we're babies? Like, what is this?
Also, you got people, including Dan Bongino, right, making bank for a couple of years talking about how awful it is, and we got to get this shit, and this is a huge conspiracy. And
before we move on, please take a moment and subscribe to the channel and like the video. How powerful is one offhand podcast comment? Powerful enough to make Trump look like he swallowed a lemon. On Rogan's show, it sounded like one of those side remarks you almost miss if you're not paying attention. He was talking away with his guest, casual as ever, when he floated the idea that Melania might have had some connection to Jeffrey Epstein. No charts, no documents, no grainy photos, just the kind of I've heard things statement that podcast hosts toss out like it's nothing. But this one hit like a grenade in a church. You could almost see the instant it blew up online. Viewers clipped the snippet and posted it on Twitter and TikTok before Rogan had probably even left his studio. The tone in his voice wasn't loud or dramatic. If anything, the relaxed delivery made it worse. It sounded like he was just stating an open secret, and when something sounds like everybody already knows, it travels fast. Within hours, my feed was full of Melania memes.
If the Epstein scandal teaches us anything, it's that America needs a dedicated and decently funded group of people whose job it is not to just ask questions, but to find answers. Just that alone is so wild that they would have the balls to post that. We need dedicated journalists, not just people asking questions. We're just asking questions along with that? Or is this a knock on the defunding of PBS, which is essentially a propaganda network for the Democratic Party?
Yeah, which is now being, apparently, we'll see if that happens. But
Epstein flight log jokes and people tagging Donnie diapers with airplane emojis. It stopped being a fringe rumor overnight. Rogan's audience is massive. Millions who treat his podcast like it's part news source, part bar chat. When they heard it, they didn't treat it like a maybe. They treated it like finally someone had said the thing out loud. Hashtags popped up, Reddit threads went deep, and YouTube commentators ran with it like it was Thanksgiving turkey being passed around the table. And it's not even the first time this has happened. Remember when a casual chat on a podcast spiraled into a full week of headlines about Bernie Sanders' alleged feud with Elizabeth Warren? Or when a throwaway comment about Hillary in 2016 suddenly became a Fox News talking point for a month? This is the pattern. Someone says something unevidenced, but with confidence, and the internet spins it into a fact-shaped object everyone fights over. The groundwork for this rumor was already there. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, Trump was often photographed alongside Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Charity events, parties, Mar-a-Lago gatherings where the champagne flowed and the cameras caught every handshake. Those images never disappeared. They sit in the public consciousness like an unhealed scab, and anytime a new claim pops up, that old picture gets dragged out again. It doesn't matter if the timeline doesn't perfectly line up. For the internet, visual proof and historical proximity are close enough. The thing is, Rogan didn't pull out a document or say, I can prove this.
They know they are sitting on a treasure trove of information and they're not turning it over. And I've worked on these cases for over 10 years now. There's a plethora of information that the public has not been able to see relating to Epstein.
He has over 100 hours of Epstein talking about Trump, including saying that he considered Trump his best friend for 10 years.
I probably have 100 hours of Epstein talking about the inner workings of the Trump White House and about his long-standing, deep relationship with Donald Trump.
He just passed along something he supposedly heard, but the way he framed it, like it was just a little nugget among bigger topics, made it land heavier. When you act like something's already accepted truth, people don't rush to verify it, they rush to share it. And this is where the real gasoline was sitting. The tease about Melania being on Epstein's jet. He didn't dwell on that in detail. It was a dangling detail, but it was the one thing in the whole conversation that made Trump world snap into panic mode. That's when you saw the sharp shift from mockery to conspiracy debates, with supporters rushing to call it fake, and critics replaying the clipped audio on loop. And by the end of the day, a rumor with zero fresh evidence had been reborn into a top trending topic. Rogan didn't break a story. He just took an old whisper, gave it 10 seconds of airtime, and let his audience do the rest. If Rogan lit the match, it was Melania's rumored history and Trump's frantic reaction that poured gasoline on it. So what's the dirty little detail that made Donnie Diapers lose his cool? The Epstein jet theory. It's the chatter that Jeffrey Epstein supposedly claimed Melania was on his plane when she first crossed paths with Trump. No boarding pass, no flight log screenshot, just the kind of salacious story that's tailor-made to explode online because it's messy, it's personal, and it drags a former first lady into the sleaziest scandal of the century. Even without proof, the mental image is enough to get people typing in all caps. Now here's where it went from a spicy rumor to absolute conspiracy buffet. People tied this jet story to the holy grail of internet sleuths, the infamous so-called Epstein client list. In theory, it's the ultimate tell-all document naming names of the rich and powerful who partied with Epstein. In reality, the Department of Justice has flat out stated that no official, provable list like this exists. But try telling that to the folks online who turn every rumor into their weekend project, especially when the twist is that Melania herself allegedly pressured Trump to keep it sealed. To them, that makes Trump more than just a player in the Epstein orbit. It makes him the gatekeeper.
Donald Trump himself acknowledged the fact that Epstein liked young women.
I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life.
There's nothing to implicate Donald Trump. Then release the files. What's the problem with releasing them? That's what they've been demanding.
And what Donald Trump called the younger side. Terrific guy. That's what Jeffrey Epstein was to Donald Trump. Terrific guy. And to this day, Donald Trump has not said a negative word about Jeffrey Epstein.
Boy, did the internet go wild. Political podcasts started suggesting Trump was acting less like a tough guy and more like a nervous husband covering for his wife's past. TikToks popped up with dramatic music showing photos of Melania in her modeling days fading into slow zooms of Epstein's jet. Twitter threads accused Grumpy Trumpy of protecting her at all costs. Memes painted him as an airport baggage handler sneaking her on board. It was absurd, but also impossible to scroll away from. Critics didn't have to squint hard to find connections they thought looked suspicious. The timeline seemed tasty. Melania comes to the US in the mid-90s on an Einstein visa, supposedly for her extraordinary abilities as a model. Her industry had plenty of overlap with Epstein's crowd. Wealthy men, exclusive parties, young women working in fashion. Throw in the fact that Trump and Epstein were very much in the same social scene at the time, and you've got enough smoke for the conspiracy crowd to call it a 5-alarm fire. Melania's legal team hasn't taken this stuff lightly. They've gone after outlets that spread similar claims before, sending letters, threatening lawsuits, even forcing retractions from a few headlines that got too bold. That heavy-handed pushback only played into the hands of her loudest critics, who claim it's all an overreaction from someone with something to hide. And Trump himself, the man who usually laughs off scandals, insults reporters, and calls everything fake news, suddenly got weirdly emotional. He insisted the story was totally false, emphasized he cut ties with Epstein long before, and even claimed people were dragging Melania into politics unfairly. It wasn't his usual smug wave off. It was defensive, heated, and, well, not a good look for the orange turd. That shift in tone told critics everything they wanted to hear, that there must be some truth if it rattled him this much. Supporters, meanwhile, claimed it was just the frustration of a husband tired of the lies. Either way, the internet didn't care what the truth was. They cared that the rumors, the jet, and the mythical list now formed one giant storyline too juicy to ignore. And just like that, the panic in Trump's corner became the the best viral marketing campaign these conspiracy theories could have asked for. Whether you buy the story or not, the speed and power of this rumor says more about our media age than about what really happened in 1997. In the age of Joe Rogan and viral feeds, truth is sometimes less important than shareability. One shaky sentence can rewire what millions of people think, even if it's built on zero solid proof. Donnie Diapers knows that better than anyone right now, so before you hit share on the next explosive thing you see, actually check the evidence. Ask who's saying it, why they're saying it, and what's missing. Because in politics and gossip, the loudest story isn't always the truest. It's just the one that gets the most laughs, clicks, and in Trump's case, the reddest shade of orange.